Hey everyone, Spencer the Knowledge Pharaoh from Sky Sports' Ringside Toe-to-Toe Boxing Podcast and hashtag Toe-to-Toe. Listen up, give Sporting Icon a follow.
Now, with 2017 being a great year for boxing in the UK, and a lot of that was down to great matchups, and most notably over on Matchroom. They put on some great shows, obviously Klitschko versus Joshua, Kell Brook, Errol Spence, and David Haye versus Tony Bellew, all these kind of ones, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And I've been guilty of it myself, where I've been pretty much backing Matchroom almost exclusively for an entire year, and I haven't been given as much attention to Frank Warren's team as maybe I should. As I've said on many occasions, I support British fighters. They're kind of like my main motivation behind this, is promoting British fighters. I mean, of course, that doesn't mean that I can't promote fighters who are not British. Of course not. Of course not. There's plenty of fighters that I like outside of the UK, and I'll continue to support them, like Joseph Parker, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, and so on and so on and so on. So this year, I've decided that I'm actually going to be pushing a lot of the Frank Warren fighters a lot more than what I have been in 2017, and I have been guilty of it myself, because I've almost bought into it, if you like, that Matchroom is where it's all at. And currently it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, what I want to see in 2018 is Frank Warren closing the gap on Eddie Hearn. I don't expect him to overtake him or become head honcho once again. I don't expect that at all. I think that Matchroom have their finger on the pulse, and they will continue to provide us with great matchups, and I'm excited about all that. But what I really want now with Frank Warren and his team is, now they're part of BT Sport, to really start making a push on promotion. And that comes from not only Frank Warren himself, but he needs to get his sons a bit more involved at the front line. A bit like Barry Hearn has done with Eddie Hearn, where Eddie Hearn is now the front line. And in 2018, I expect Eddie Hearn to be spending a lot more time in America, concentrating on getting some shows and trying to crack the market in America. And while Eddie will be leaving some of his entourage in the UK to promote Matchroom in the UK, and they're very capable. We've seen that from Frank and a few others, that they are very capable of doing this. But this is a good opportunity now for Frank Warren to start promoting a lot of his fighters. And I'm talking about the likes of the fighters who are world class, or who will be world class at some point. And it seems that his guys are almost camera shy. They don't really get up there. They're not in your face as much. Now, Billy Joe Saunders, he is. And, of course, a lot of how 2018 goes, as far as the pendulum swings towards Matchroom or towards Frank Warren, will be, where does Tyson Fury go? Does he sign with Matchroom? Does he re-sign with Frank Warren? All these kind of things. And, of course, we do have to figure in as well David Haye of Haymaker and Ringstar. Obviously, they're new, they're up and coming. Obviously, Mick Hennessy Sports and all these kind of things. And a few others, of course. But the two front runners at the minute are Eddie Hearn's Matchroom and Frank Warren. So, I really want Frank Warren to make more of a effort this year. Now, I know 2017 was a bedding in period, where he just signed up with BT Sport. And obviously, now they have yet to do a pay-per-view. But what fighters do they have that is potentially pay-per-view? They show a lot of the foreign fights, if you like, that are somewhat pay-per-view, or kind of anyway. But I want to see him from his fighters. And that does mean, to close the gap, he needs to potentially swallow the pill, if you like, and send a couple of his guys over, like Anthony Yard, to go fight on a Sky Sports bill against one of Matchroom's fighters. Whether that be Hosea Burton or Frank Buglioni, that kind of thing, to go over and fight on a Sky Matchroom promotion. Now, of course, it can be co-promotion, of course, but I mean aired on Sky Sports. So a lot of people get exposure to who Anthony Yard is. Of course, we all know who Anthony Yard is, mostly anyway, but the general public don't, who watch a lot of the Sky Sports boxing. They pretty much only know the Matchroom fighters. So Anthony Yarde needs to go there and potentially beat Frank Buglioni or beat Jose Burton. Bring the British title over to Frank Warren. So there's like a small sacrifice for the long-term gain. Daniel Dubois, there's no reason in the world why he can't be promoted a little bit more now. Now, we know it's still early days for him, but for me, I want to see him in some better matchups. And that would mean that he would have to fight someone like Sam Sexton for the British at some point. Obviously, he needs to turn 21 first, which won't be until September. But maybe someone like a Dave Allen, or obviously with Frank Warren's own Nathan Gorman, Nick Webb. These kind of guys, you see, they need to be kind of like coming together and fighting. And the public will show great interest. And that will all go down to IFL playing a big part in promoting these guys as well, getting more interviews with them. And of course, myself as well. I mean, if you notice with the guys that I've interviewed, they've been pretty much exclusively Matchroom. So 2018, I'll be making a bit more of an effort with the interviewing of fighters. That's something that I should have really done 2017, was make more of an effort doing that. But 2018, I will be, and you guys will be seeing a lot more interviews coming from this channel. So that's pretty much what Frank Warren needs to do, is try and work with Eddie Hearn. Not necessarily, I'm not asking them to sit around a dinner table and, share a bottle of wine together. I mean, like, they do need to let fighters cross over and fight on the other shows in order to get a belt, to promote the big fight. Like, for example, Frank Warren, he's got Tete, and Eddie Hearn has got Ryan Burnett. At some point 2018, hopefully we can't see that fight for another unification. So that show, there's no reason why that can't be on Sky. And I'm pretty sure that Frank Warren would probably allow that as well. Now, of course, he does need to keep his own fighters on his own show, his big fighters. And I do mean like Daniel Dubois, and I do mean Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders has all the gift of the gab and all that kind of thing. Liam Smith, there's no reason why he can't cross over onto Sky to take on one of Eddie Hearn's fighters, like Kell Brook, for example. I mean, that'd be a great fight, and it should be on Sky so people get more exposure to Liam Smith, and they know that he's part of Frank Warren's team. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for from 2018, that we see Frank Warren close the gap a bit. Okay, I'm a Matchroom fanboy, we all know that, but I'm a British fanboy first and foremost. That's kind of what I do. But of course, that doesn't mean any of them can't be criticised. You all know me. If they step out of line for anything, I do jump on them, as do you guys. But of course, I want to see more fighters coming out of Frank Warren being given more promotion. I want to see them be on bigger shows, and if that means going to America to fight on a HBO show, then so be it. If that means going to Sky and fighting over there, then so be it. But of course, obviously, he needs to try and make a few big fights on BT Sport as well. And like I said earlier, the pendulum will swing in the favour of either Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren a little bit more, depending on where Tyson Fury goes, and of course how Tyson Fury performs as well. It'll be interesting though if Tyson Fury does sign with Frank Warren. Of course, the promotion over Frank Warren will go up through the roof for quite a while. But of course, ultimately, when it comes down to him fighting Anthony Joshua, where do you stage the fight? Are we likely to see a co-promotion between Sky Sports and BT Sport? That's very unlikely. But it's one of those things that we're going to have to kind of cross that bridge when they come to it, I suppose. But it's like with Hughie Fury as well. Okay, he's taken a loss. No big deal. Okay, he'll come back. He's 23 years old, and at some point, I imagine within the next 3 or 4 years, he will be world champion. Maybe a bit sooner, we don't know. As long as he learns to throw a few punches once in a while. But his guys need a little bit of self-management on media training. And this is Frank Warren's guys I'm talking about, where they need to be a bit more comfortable, a bit more witty, if you like, a bit more appealing to the public. And that's kind of what I hope Frank Warren will teach them. But of course, like I said before, Frank Warren needs to be a bit more outgoing himself on camera. Of course, he needs to have more interviews, go on to, cross over, if you like, to an ITV show and have some interviews on there when Chris Eubank Jr. is fighting on the ITV pay-per-view, that kind of thing. He needs to make an appearance so the camera spots him. Almost remind people that he's still around, because a lot of people don't have BT. They have Sky Sports. Now, we do know that there is a slight crossover for certain fights. You can watch some BT fights over on Sky, that kind of thing. But I'm hoping 2018 is going to be the year where Frank Warren closes the gap a little bit. Like I said, I don't expect him to overtake Eddie Hearn, but with Eddie Hearn now making a concerted effort for Matchroom USA, then this is a good opportunity for Frank Warren to put on some cracking shows. And I do mean that he needs to be doing some headline fights and a decent undercard for fighters who a lot of people have heard of. So, because some of the fights that he had on last year, a lot of people didn't really know who the opponent was, if you like, for one of his guys. So he needs to make a bit more of an effort. Try and get one of his guys to fight Lomachenko on BT. That would be amazing. Billy Joe Saunders, obviously, fight the winner of Canelo and Triple G once they have their rematch. Little things like that he needs to do. And there's no reason in the world why Billy Joe Saunders versus, say, Triple G shouldn't be pay-per-view on BT. So maybe a couple of shows this year on pay-per-view is exactly what the doctor ordered. Of course, we don't really want to be paying for that ourselves, but either way, I'm hoping Frank Warren closes this gap. I'm hoping that he kind of gets the grip between his teeth and makes one hell of an effort this year. And of course, he does need to be cautious, and I'm certainly not suggesting that he throws the likes of Anthony Yard or Daniel Dubois under the bus against people who really they shouldn't be in the ring with just yet. But I'm hoping 2018 we could potentially see Daniel Dubois as British champion before the year closes, and Anthony Yard potentially as Commonwealth or British light heavyweight champion, or maybe move Anthony Yard up to cruiserweight. But either way, I'm hoping 2018 that we're all going to start supporting all British fighters at the foremost, and I'm talking about those of us who are Matchroom fanboys like myself. I need to make a bit more of an effort towards some of Frank Warren's fighters, and I will be. And 2018, I will be reaching out to some of his fighters, and of course Frank Warren himself, and Eddie Hearn himself as well. So whichever one of those guys interview with me, if you like, and come onto my channel in 2018, and there's no reason why either of them won't. But if whichever one does, I'm probably going to be a bit biased on that one, I have to admit. But either way, let's see what 2018 brings. British boxing is in a good place. We've got a lot of prospects, and I do expect Matchroom to start pushing the likes of Anthony Fowler and Josh Kelly and a few others like that coming up. And of course, with David Hay and his small team, they're going to start making a push as well, along with David Hay himself, and of course Cyclone Promotions as well. And obviously Frank Warren, he's just newly acquired Carl Frampton, so we're going to be seeing him fight is it Donaire. So again, some good fights, and hopefully a lot of eyes are going to be starting to switch over to BT Sport, and obviously I'm going to be helping with as much of that as I can. So anyway, drop your thoughts below as to how you think Frank Warren can close the gap on Eddie Hearn, or do you think maybe it's too late? Is Frank Warren too much in the old school, and old school isn't what the doctor ordered anymore? Or can he and of course his sons make more of an effort to relate to the fans, talk to the fans, and obviously promote their own fighters a lot better than what maybe they have been? So drop your thoughts below, click that thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.